Hi everyone, it's Candace Craw-Goldman, and I am here with another wonderful guest in our series for Worldwide Regression Week 2020, Unleash Your Mind. I'm here with Cynthia Sue Larson, and Cynthia Sue Larson is the best-selling author of 6 books who helps people visualize and access whole new worlds of possibility. And before we even get started, I want to read the first sentence she has on her website because it is so appropriate for us right now. We are recording this in March to air in April. So keep that in mind as you listen to this show. The dawn of this new quantum age presents you with the radical new paradigm that you are not your body or your situation, but instead are pure energy, pure consciousness. You exist in an interconnected, holographic multiverse in which you are literally jumping from one parallel universe to another with every choice you make. Chills, Cynthia, chills when I read it this morning in prep for the interview, and chills again right now. Welcome to Worldwide Regression Week 2020.
Yay, thank you. Thank you for having me be part of this. And what a perfect time to be doing this. I can't imagine a better time. This message is so important. What I'm doing, what you're doing, it's perfect.
And you just said a minute ago, we're talking to the future. Because this year there's so much going on with World Regression Week. I have to do it pre-week. And, you know, we don't really know what details are going to be in front of our face in mid-April, but how perfect it is that we are talking about this. You know, can I go back to what, oh gosh, there it is. Yes, the sentence that I read. So you're not your body or your situation. However, we are in physical bodies who are dealing with a very physical situation out there, you know, in terms of what's going on with individuals and in the rules of our culture and our community. Please, I would love to know some of the thoughts that are going through your mind right now about this crazy time in 2020.
Right, there's so much going on, and I think we know that this was going to happen on a deep level. I think we were prepared for it, those of us who are doing this kind of light work and awareness of bringing this comprehension of multidimensional reality, if you will, this awareness that we're so much more than what fits in our physical body. And we know this, we implicitly know it, you know, we're aware of it. There's that deep knowingness. That's the voice, that still small, quiet voice inside of us that's so wise. And it's not the voice that's listening to the TV or what your friend may have told you in a moment of panic. So I think we're finding already, here we are in March, but we're talking to April. We're already finding that people are leaning on us, looking to us to be that stability, to be the rudder, to be the calm, and to remember this truth that we're speaking of, to really live it, to walk the talk. So that's what comes to mind right now. It's happening already. I can only imagine it'll be more so in April. And hopefully at that point we'll have hit the ground running and we'll be fine in the sense of remembering who we really are. That's the key. That really is always the key. And we can get confused and distracted and think like, no, that's not it, because we've really got this real thing going on right now. But, you know, whatever that real thing might be, just.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the information flow, if you're awake at all, you have to wonder about the information that you're hearing. This, and what a lesson in discernment, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think I have a scientific background too, so I want to speak to that because I do have a degree in physics. I actually did work on a project that originated from NASA, so I actually have worked on like a space project. And
wow.
I don't usually talk about this. I'm going to talk about it now.
Wow.
Because I think it's part of just that reassurance. There's a part of us that wants to know, but this sounds too woo-woo, Candace and Cynthia. You're going out there. Okay, I understand it looks that way, but I have this background in mathematics, physics, and you know, definitely having worked on a NASA project. It was the IC3 solar satellite, and it was in a perfect heliocentric orbit between the Earth and the Sun, and I was observing the solar flare data. And so I'm just bringing that up so you know, I may sound today like, wow, she's out there, but no, this is totally grounded. Everything I'm talking about and that you're talking about, it's really rooted in the foundational elements of quantum physics, the way that it was envisioned by the true fathers and mothers of quantum physics. There were women there too. Just recognizing that quantum physics is challenging our view of the so-called objective reality, that we have one absolute truth, and that's this one perfect timeline, or I just want to go back to the way things were. We know that feeling. We can't go back that way per se, but at the same time, we can access that level of self that's so much bigger than the current situation seems to be. We're already out there, if you want to call it out there. We're in the possibilities. And that's our true self. And that's infinite, that's eternal. This is not woo-woo, because it's the truth that we see also in quantum physics. And it gets into the trickiness about the observer. That's the key to the whole thing, is this dimensional awareness. Who is the observer? Who are we? That's everything. And so recognizing that and just taking a deep breath, calming yourself, whatever's going on, and realizing it's going to be okay. It always has been okay. No matter what happens, it's okay. Some of this may be like, whoa, mind-blowing, because we bump up against our beliefs that our culture has instilled, that our parents may have told us, teachers may have told us. But now we can't go there anymore. We can't afford the luxury of that kind of chaotic thinking anymore. So I love this week of Unleash Your Mind. Yeah, it's perfect.
Right? I mean, this whole idea, what's been leashing us, what's been controlling us. Even the light workers, even the way showers, there is some concern and a little bit of panic going on, even in our community. And even when we are saying, and sometimes to ourselves, hey, this is why you're here. This is why you've incarnated now. This is it. Show's on.
Yeah.
It's been practiced up till now, maybe to groups or individuals, but this is all of us, right? This is the collective, all of us. And can you speak to that sort of a little bit? I mean, there's this whole idea of individual choosing of creation, but we are more than just an individual. We are a species, right?
We are. And so on that level, we're evolving and we're growing for sure. And individually, there are parts of us that would like to be following the rules. There are lots of us that just like, tell me what to do. I just want to know what to do. And then there are those of us that are kind of the trailblazers, the rule breakers, we're the ones that are renegades. The renegades were needed, to be that first wave, to be there to say like, look, we don't have to do it the way we've been doing it before. And then the ones that want to follow the rules, you need to look for the renegades, look for the rule breakers that resonate with your heart, that make you feel like this feels right on a deep level. I feel like I'm home. I feel not just safe from change, but safe on the deepest sense. Like I feel like the fullness of me. When you feel that, then you're hearing truth for you. And that's so important. And nobody can really say what's true for someone, because right now you'll see people that they just need to follow the rules, and you'll see other people doing something different. That's okay. It's all okay.
I'm really thinking about this whole idea, and what I want to make sure message comes across today is, I don't know about you, but I consider myself a big pragmatist. I am very practical. I may be out here talking about, hey, let's calm the fears. I also have a few extra canned goods on my shelf, and I'm looking at different ways of being very practical. I have an elderly father. He's almost 90. He has COPD. I am not putting my head in the sand. I am not spiritually bypassing. I am not in any sort of denial. I'm not calling any of this a hoax. At the same time, watching our energy and working with the power within us can help shift this situation.
Right.
It doesn't have to be exclusive, right? Just because you're looking at the energy doesn't mean I don't have to wash my hands.
Right. And that's the quantum mindset too. It's not either or. That's very binary. That's so old school. It's so yesterday. We're going into quantum thinking, which is embracing the fullness of all possibility, and then really asking yourself which ones feel right for me. And I'm very practical too, very pragmatic. And I also believe in, let's do everything logically. Let's take the vitamin C, the liposomal, and let's make sure you've got the supplements and the good food that you need, have some supplies stocked and so forth. Keep clean and practice all the things that we're hearing about that I'm sure by April, it's going to be more into it even than we are now. That's good. Stay with that program, but also keep positive, because when you focus on that heaven is already here, that you, regardless what your religious views are, by heaven I mean that sense of infinite, eternal bliss and love, that we know each other, that there's no barrier between you and anyone or anything else, that there's just love, and that you can reset yourself back to kind of like factory heaven settings. It's just like, I'm going to live there. I'm going to see heaven on earth right now, because that's the right way to live. And it brings you instantly into this expansiveness of, it feels like 5-dimensional identification, where you know you're much bigger than any possible small situation. And you suddenly have bypassed that whole kind of restrictive thinking that it's like a prison of sorts, where we assume that the limitations we've been taught are true, and it's easy to retract into that and feel like, well, I'm threatened, so I have to hunker down, I have to be, it's all for me, I have to be selfish. When you feel that happening, then you know that, oh, that's that voice, that you can tell. And then the other voice is one of, wait a minute, I know on a deeper level that I'm always okay no matter what. I feel that love, I know it's real, sometimes I've felt it, I'm going to choose that. And choosing that is really, it's like if you want the cheat code for any emergency, here's your cheat code. For those that are the youngsters here, like they play games, most of us play games, so it's not really cheating, it's just remembering who you really are. And what better time to remember who you are than when everything seems to be falling apart? There's no better time. It's always a good time anyway, but now it's definitely a good time.
Even, and again, just to touch on the, you may know someone who's ill. You may be ill yourself watching this show. And some of this might sound too airy-fairy and dismissive. It's really not.
It's not.
It's not. It's like, even if your grandma or your mom or you or
right.
someone is ill, this looking forward positive mindset of there's a purpose in this, and there's a way to come out of it in a better light in some manner, really propels us along a brighter path, doesn't it? How do you help somebody, have that kind of mindset, or believe or yearn for that when they're in the middle of a, pardon me, shit show? How do you do that?
Well, it's very much like if you're a life saver, like you're the, what do you call it? The person at the pool.
First responder.
Yeah, like you're at the swimming pool and you're watching the pool and someone starts drowning, and you're the lifeguard. Yeah, so you jump in the pool. You've had training, that the most important thing is don't let yourself get drowned. So when you jump in the pool to help someone else, don't let yourself get pulled down. You have to maintain your connection to calmness, to center, to breathing, to have your flotation device, because someone who thinks they're drowning can be panicking. So you need to, for me, that flotation device, that's access to that oneness, the cosmic source, the unconditional divine love. And I know that when each of us keeps that is the key to miraculous healing. I've seen broken bones healed with access to that love. I've seen cancer spontaneously remission, whether it's liver cancer, brain cancer, any kind of cancer, it's just gone. So broken bones, cancer, cuts, I've seen cuts instantly healed, blood blisters gone, burns, like pretty serious burns, maybe not hospital, but you can see it and it's puffed up, gone. I've witnessed real-time healing of an epic magnitude, and it's totally part of this. And so if you feel like I don't have time to study a healing system, that's okay. Because all the good ones, they go to source, and that's where they're getting their energy. That's where they're getting all of this good juju and if you want to think of it that way, then the only thing blocking us from healing would be inside ourselves. And you can actually ask, like, clear it now. I'm suffering, someone I love is suffering, clear any blockages to complete and perfect health right now. And that, when you feel that with your fullness of being, that's enough to clear the blockages. And then you don't have to get fancy Reiki training or anything. If you need it right now, you've got it. You've got it. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes just reading or listening to other stories of miracles can inspire that feeling within you. As you were talking about all this, I was remembering when my firstborn daughter, who now is in her 30s and has 3 of her own kids, but she was a small child outside playing with a very strong older boy who had just gotten his lacrosse equipment, and he was playing with his lacrosse equipment and flung a ball, those hard lacrosse balls that are so hard, and it hit her right in the eye socket. And there was all this pandemonium, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and she came into the house, and she was, of course, her father saw what happened, and his eyes were like this, and we're wondering, skull fracture, eye thing, and I actually was newly Reiki trained, and I'm like, well, let's think about this. Let's get some ice. We put some ice on her. We put, I put my hands on her, and I just held her, and we quietly talked. Do we go to the hospital? Do we not? Every once in a while I kind of look at it. It was awful. It was awful. It was big. It was purple. It was, does she have a skull fracture? Well, let's think about it. We don't want to scare her. It's a Sunday, all this stuff. What do we do? And at the end, it seemed to go down. It was like, well, no visible damage to her eye. Okay, we'll put her to bed. She calmed down. We put her to bed, look at it. And then the next morning I'm thinking, she's going to have a black eye. I'm already thinking about what you have to do when you send a kid to school with black eye. I'm thinking about all the notes I have to write, and do I need to check her? And got up the next morning and looked at her. Nothing, absolutely nothing, with this direct hit lacrosse ball right in her eye. And I even touched her. I'm like, Lauren, do you remember what happened yesterday? She goes, yeah, but it doesn't hurt. I was thinking she had a skull fracture. It was that bad. And it wasn't even sore the next day. No bruise, nothing.
Right.
And, so you can bring up memories, whether you use that memory of mine right now, which is, you've got to be kidding me, with the change in that, or somebody else's. Inspiring that idea of miraculous, beautiful, and magical health inspires your own selves to go in that direction, and your field around you to inspire others.
It gives you that boost of energy that is required to make that quantum jump to a reality that's already there. And that's the value of what we're doing right now, because we can bring that energy that can give the listeners who are watching right now that tiny bit of boost. That's all you need to be able to make that jump, like, oh, I'm already there. I can do it because it happened. It's happened for these beautiful women. Yeah. And I've had so many stories myself, so many.
You've got some great stories. Thinking about stories and all the books you've written, is there any one book that you've written that maybe would be most helpful in the time like this right now? I need to get to them myself, and I'm looking at them all, and I'm going, okay, which one?
Well, I'm thinking we're in April, because I know we're recording it in March, but for April, what I suggest is skip the books. Just get this $3 on iTunes and go straight to the Aura Healing Meditation CD. Even if you can't stay awake, you don't have to. Just play it in the background. It's basically all about, it's 3 steps to get like a miraculous healing, and that's what it's all about. If it's for a loved one, just have it playing quietly in the background. This is good for pets. It's $3. It's so cheap. It's like it's called Aura Healing Meditations. That's the go-to. I use it myself when I've had a car accident. Someone crashed into my car. I'm in shock. I'm in trauma. I go home. I put that on. And it's got that very high vibrational frequency, and it does the reset. It brings you back to remembering, like, wait a minute, I'm not just a 3D person here. And you can feel it happening. So the 3 parts are just feeling like you're in the presence of this divine, unconditional cosmic love, the source of Reiki, the source of all quantum healing, the source of everything. And you feel it. Like each time you experience it, it's like fresh and new. And because it's so much bigger than anything any of us can ever directly fully comprehend, and just feeling like, wow, that's here, I can feel it. And then the second part is just like 20 minutes of feeling the energy coming into every fiber of your being, every part of you. And the third part is activating it inside yourself and blasting off everything that's not of that purest vibration, which will clear out all the energy frequencies of any kind of illness, broken appendage, cancer, you name it, gone. And so it's just 3 simple steps. I spent a year in meditating 3 hours a day to get, before I went into the studio, to make this one thing. That's the only CD I've ever created. That's it. And that's my go-to. If I was, I'm thinking, okay, we're in April, what do I do? Forget the books, go straight to that. It's only $3. It can save someone's life, you know. It changes the energy instantly. It's like a cleaning, so it's real easy.
Well, the magic of you comes through everything about you, just talking about you. We will put a link to that below, I promise. And I'm going to quick order that myself. Yeah. Is it downloadable?
Yeah, you get it instantly. Good. So like iTunes, Amazon has it. Okay. So it's really cheap. You don't have to spend a lot of money. And it's like, boom.
Yeah, the only CDs I've got now are spinning on strings in the wind to keep the pigeons out of my barn. But some really cool ones like rock and roll and this healing thing. I don't have anything that plays CDs anymore.
Right.
So that's beautiful. And how wonderful is that? $3 for 3 years of meditations and putting it all together. I like that too, because that works with the concept of, meaning you don't have to listen, you don't have to study, you don't have to memorize.
No.
It works on the idea of entrainment, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And it brings the energy that you need, and the intention is there. All you have to do is align with it. Like, I need a miracle. Like I need this. That's all. Just like, yes. And then just put it on in the background. Yeah. Even if like I'm too sick to pay attention, fine. It still works.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that so much. I want to switch gears a little bit right now and ask you about, because, you know, when in our communications, I said this to you, and I don't know if you believe me or not when I said it, or even noticed it. I said, I think about you every day. And I do, because I cannot believe how many objects of mine are vaporizing and vanishing. And what I haven't yet quite mostly gotten is the return of these things. You have these amazing stories, the tooth and these other things that just amazing. And I have a few things that I just cannot, I just don't understand it right now at all. Here's the last one. It's so funny. It's a very strange set of things to disappear. And I'm like, what even does that mean? Because it makes me really think about which objects disappear and why. I know that's not a coincidence either. Here's the last set. I was at Whole Foods last week. I got 3 tubs of organic chicken livers. Not because I eat them, but because I make a special raw diet food for my kitty cats, and they need organ meat, and I got 3 big tubs of them. And when I got home, they weren't there. And I had stopped and let some groceries off at my dad's. So I started with the very logical things. And
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I've got this amazing, it ties in perfectly with what we're talking about, both aspects. I'll just show it to you first and I'll explain what it means. This is a rose, and it just showed up like 2 days ago out of nowhere, but it did that before in January. So it's all about heaven. It's all about heaven on earth. And it showed up again. It wanted to be here for the show today. Yeah. So it's like super important.
And you're wearing roses on your shirt, aren't you?
That's an amazing coincidence. I just now noticed. You noticed that. I didn't even notice. Oh my gosh. So let's go there. Okay. So I want to tell you what happened when I went to Boulder, Colorado. I was being interviewed by Regina Meredith for Gaia TV, but the night before I went to dinner with a dear friend, and I love being with her because we just talked about this bliss energy and how it can transform the world. This is January. We didn't at that point know about any of the virus or anything. It wasn't real. It wasn't like a big thing. What we were talking about though was just how it can positively transform the world when you have that beautiful energy, when we all know this. And I said, before we leave, oh, we stayed so late that all the other patrons in the restaurant left. If you've gone to Boulderado, it's the Tea House. It's that beautiful building. I don't know. It's just gorgeous. But anyway, at the end of the evening, even the wait staff wanted us to stay. They said, no, you stay, because they could feel the energy. I mean, we're just blissing out. The energy is like, woo, woo, you know. We'd paid the bill. They just left, you know. They're in the kitchen cleaning up, and we're the only ones there. That's important, because the next thing that happened, I said to my friend, may I have a picture with you? I'd just like to remember the moment. She said, sure. So I moved my chair. As I moved my chair, out of the air falls a rose. We're the only ones in the restaurant, but now we're both looking around like, who threw a rose, or where did it fall from? There are no roses. This is it. This is just this one cute little rose. And it was amazing. So I shared that in my Reality Shifters news the next month. I published that monthly newsletter. But then 2 days ago, I'm again thinking about the importance. Now we're beginning the thick of this pandemic with the virus. But again, the rose shows up. Where does it show up? It shows up in the bottom of a purse that I use all the time. It's a big bag. And you know, when you have a big bag, what I do, first I put in the heavy stuff. I've been putting heavy stuff in that bag, like my huge wallet, my, you know, all sorts of things, my iPad, blah, 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 boom, boom, boom. Sometimes a drink. Believe me, this little dried rose is perfect. It's been preserved, I guess, in heaven for 2 months. And here it is again.
Wait a second. This is a second rose?
It's the same one.
Oh, it's the same one.
And it's like, I was wondering what happened to it, because I skipped that part. Okay, it appeared, and then I couldn't find it. I took a picture of it, and then I couldn't. I had to pack out of the hotel. I'm leaving. I can't find the rose, and I think, well, that's okay. It'll turn up. And then every day for the last 8 weeks, I've been throwing heavy things in that purse. But it would have smashed this. There would be no petals left. It would be dust. It's not dust. It's not smashed. I just opened my purse, and there it was at the bottom. And I'm like, what? There you are. How did you get there? And then here we are again. It's because of what we're talking about.
Yes.
It's because of this mindset. It's because this is what we need. It's because we need to remember that's who we really are.
Yeah.
That we're pure love, that we are connected. This is real.
Magical things can happen. So as you're talking, I've got 2 little kind of similar stories like that too. I was getting ready to do a BQH session on my friend Michelle Walling. She'd come all the way up here from Florida. It was really great. We had prepped. She went to the restroom. I went to the restroom. She was getting ready to lay down on the bed, and I had these beautiful kind of satin, not satin, silky, what word am I trying to say? Well, anyway, some felt kind of sheets on top that were dark brown and dark, you know, some dark colors here. I have a top that's really beautiful with some different colors. But anyway, so it was very, very dark, and she was just getting ready to lay down, and all of a sudden from the ceiling, a white feather came and landed right in the middle of the pillow. And we both looked at each other and said, well, I guess it's going to be pretty special, isn't it? I mean, and again, where did that come from? There was nothing there. So exactly. That was amazing. And I keep this little rock behind me because I have this story, a wonderful story about Pamela Erlin, who gave me this rock. It's a long story, but it was very special. It was a special gift to her. She gifted it to me when I met her at a women's retreat. It was so special to me, and I was feeling so needy at the time, kind of unwell, and it was, I slept with it. I kept it with me. It helped me feel better, right? I just felt better with this magic. Yes. And I had to drive back from the Ozarks all by myself, and I put it in the outside pocket of my padded purse because I wanted to make sure if I felt weak or needy that I could grab it, because there it was, and I was feeling good about it. So I positioned the purse and all of that, and I never had to get it out because I knew it was there. You know, I knew it was there. And then when I got home, my husband was asking me about the beautiful experiences that we had, and I wanted to tell him about this amazing gift that Pamela gave me, and it was amazing in so many ways. And I went straight to my purse to open it, and it wasn't there. And I mean, it was like I'm going to make sure I have my keys, my phone, my wallet, this rock right there when
Right.
I'm putting it in a pocket all by itself in this zippered pocket, and it was not there. And I was astonished, and I felt so bad. And then I did this thing in my head. It was like, wait a second. I think this is kind of a test thing. And it had to do with Masaru Emoto and water and all this other stuff. And I'm feeling him in my realm. And what I'm understanding was, as soon as, because Pamela was giving all these gifts away, and I was so struck by this, I was crying uncontrollably with joy, watching her give these beautiful gifts away. You know, and I was thinking, could I ever do that? Could I ever give away the things that are most precious to me? And then this disappears, and I couldn't find it. And I actually then call, and they find it in the back of a drawer in the bedroom where I left. I never even opened that drawer. I never got into that drawer, but they found it in the room, and they mailed it back to me. So my whole thing was, as soon as I know that the gift is still with me, I don't need the object. The gift is still with me.
Right.
I don't need the 3D thing.
You don't need the thing.
It showed up.
Yeah. And I'd given up on this. I thought, well, I really would have loved to see it again. It would have been a beautiful dried rose. You know, what a special thing. And now it's back. So you never know. You never know.
No.
That's what I've learned. I was going to tell you earlier, if things vanish, don't worry about it, because they could come back anytime. You know?
Well, I keep telling myself that, because there's a few things that, I mean, like my mom's wedding ring, although I didn't lose it, she did. I don't know where it would ever show up, but it was the only thing I would have really wanted from my mother, and it's vaporized. You know, and I keep giving myself these lectures. It's just a thing. It's just a thing. Come on, it's just a thing. And then there's the part of me that's like, but I really wanted it. But I love you know, since I mentioned it, can you quickly tell us the story of the tooth? I know you did before, but
yes.
It's so astonishing for those out there who didn't see a previous show I did with Cynthia Sue. Tell us the tooth story.
Okay. So my younger daughter was quite young at the time. I think she was in 4th grade or 5th grade. I don't know what grade. I can't remember now, but she was little, and she had, she was losing her baby teeth. One day, one of her baby teeth fell out while she was at school, and early in the day, like in the morning. The teacher said, well, you know, there's, you know how there's blood on the tooth. The teacher said, wash it off, dry it in a paper towel, wrap it in the paper towel. My daughter's like, what do I do with it? She said, wrap it in a paper towel, put it in your backpack. So my daughter did that, and then didn't think much about it throughout the day. But when she was getting ready to go, she looked like, okay, where's my tooth? And she started crying because she couldn't find it. It wasn't in her backpack. There was paper towels on the floor everywhere. The students had made a big mess where they'd been washing their hands, and she was just really rattled. She looked for it at school until it was time to catch the bus home, and she took the bus and came home in tears, telling me, like, Mom, I lost my tooth at school. I thought, well, that's okay. But I told her the tooth fairy knows, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. We'll just leave a little note under your pillow that, you know, that happened. And the tooth fairy knows, no problem. This will be taken care of. So I go, after my daughter went to bed and her sister, then I went to my room, and I always I would keep track of all of their baby teeth. I still have them. I would save their baby teeth, tape it, put the date, write down, you know, what had happened. So anyway, I'm writing a note. I thought, well, I don't have the tooth, but I'll write a note about the day she lost it. So I'm writing the note. And as I'm writing the note, I'm alone in my bedroom, writing a note on top of a very tall dresser. So it's right here at, you know, I can write right there. I'm writing that note. As I'm writing it, 3 inches above where I'm writing it, a baby tooth falls and lands on the note that I'm writing. And it's clean. It's got no, you know, usually, like I described, not only is there blood on a usual baby tooth, but even when you wash it, there's still blood.
Sure.
Unless you put it through some sort of a vibrational sonic system of cleaning, like you do for jewelry. That would probably be the only way to get the blood off. But we don't do that. This tooth was clean, really clean, like it had been in heaven or with the angels or something, with the real tooth fairy. And here it is. And I'm sure it must be her tooth. Why else would it just land like that, out of the air, just drop, boom.
You know, I love that story so much. And I'm imagining being in your room while this is happening. And I'm imagining something like that happening to me. And then I'm imagining what it is you do. So I don't know what you did, but I'd like go find my husband and go, this just happened. I mean, what did you do? I mean, I don't even know. I mean, what's the next moments like after something like that happens? Are you stunned?
Yeah.
I mean, what goes through you?
I felt so much love. I just felt like, wow. That's a moment when you realize we do this silly thing for the tooth fairy. Well, guess what? There's something quite real going on here, really real. And it's based on the love that I feel for my daughter, and that I'm doing this preserving of this. It means a lot to me. I don't know why I was doing it. I still have those teeth, stem cells, maybe, I don't know. It wasn't about that. It was just, I don't know. But it meant a lot to me. And just to know, it was more just the generosity of that moment. Like, here's the missing tooth and we've cleaned it for you. I mean, there were no words, but it's like, wow. And it brings tears to my eyes. It just opens my heart so full with so much wonder at the magic of the world. So if there is a book that's full of that I've written, it's Reality Shifts. It's that book that brings you that sense of like, whoa, anything can happen. People can come out of comas. You can be instantly healed. Yeah. So it's so cool.
When you ponder these kinds of things, Cynthia, because, I've had these magical things. The most magical story that brought me to Dolores Cannon and her work. I'm trying to get a book out about it just because of the confluence of things and how it all worked and that built on each other and stuff. Any one of them was a little amazing like this. And then moving on to all of them that brought me to this work and what I'm doing today and even talking to you. But then when I think about it a little bit, I think I have a sad moment or an introspective moment where I think about how we're raised as children, programmed away from that.
I know.
I want to cry.
I know. Yeah, we're told that that's magical thinking, as if that's a bad thing. We're told like, oh, that's a phase that children go through. Even Jean Piaget said that, like that's like magical thinking. But no, it's the real world. Children are direct observers, and they can witness these kinds of things much more freely, effortlessly. I think that's why if they do get sick, they often get well, as long as we don't infuse them with false thinking, like, oh, now you're sick and you're stuck. That's not necessarily true. The reason the placebo effect works is because it gives us that feather, that Dumbo's feather, that magic feather, and we can feel like, okay, something's working. And if that's great, the placebo effect is incredible. So anything you can put your faith in that works for you, awesome. Go for it, because that can bust through that old belief system that's very stodgy and very toxic that our Western mind often feels like it's trapped in. It's not really trapped. It's a paper bag. You can go right through it.
I love it. I love it. Well, we've kind of come full circle here, which is great. So we're back to this idea of, you really do have real power, and it's not a small thing, and it's not a joke. It's real power. They call it often spontaneous remission, and they don't know what to do with spontaneous remission. And many drugs aren't even allowed to go through the system because of the placebo and because they don't cause death at some point. Did you realize that with some of the drugs? Like, you're not allowed to be called a pharmaceutical drug that helps people unless at some point, at some concentration, it will kill you. Did you know that? Isn't that nuts?
That's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. And it's like, why do you want to be a part of that system? I mean, there's so much you can do for yourself. You have so much power within you, and a belief in that, and a childlike amazement at wonder can help you navigate out of some pretty sticky spots.
Absolutely. And we're seeing a doubling in the placebo effect. You know, the efficacy of it has gone from, it started at like 30% for people now.
No
And
way.
oh my gosh, yes, it's like hitting
I have
60s.
not heard this.
Yeah, I talk about that in my book, Quantum Jumps, but oh my gosh, yes, it's so incredible. And if you want to get your placebo effect into the efficacy rates of like 95 and up, all you need is faith. And, you know, that people that have some kind of faith in something bigger than themselves. And so I'm not telling you which religion to choose. I'm just saying you have to have faith in something wonderful that's bigger than yourself. If you do, awesome, because then you're going to take that efficacy rate of the placebo effect that used to be 30% like decades ago. Now it's at 60%. You can push it all the way to 90, 95%. Yeah.
Wow. Well, what if everything that's going on in the world with this virus is an opportunity for us as a species, as a collective?
That's right.
Kind of push through some sort of barrier here to increase those odds like even more. I mean, we can in some ways look at this as an opportunity, can't we?
Absolutely. It's a good opportunity. And it's a good time to also boost the immune system. Do everything that you think that you need, because on some level you believe it. So definitely do what's good for you.
Yeah.
But listen to all parts of you, including that childlike sense of wonder.
Right.
It feels like, how come I can't just be well now? I think on some level I already am. Right.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah. And so, I mean, I took my vitamin C this morning. I took some of, my supplements this morning, and taking them with water. And of course, Dolores Cannon in my meditations has called water liquid consciousness.
Yeah.
So taking them and drinking with kind of an affirmation, taking this supplement is going to keep me, healthy and at the top of my game. This is my immune system is going to be top notch. Doing that is the exact opposite than panicking and doing something out of fear. Because you don't want to feed that, really pay attention to your thoughts as you're doing things like ingesting. And they're, again, very practical things. Take lots of baths. I love baths. And I put magnesium sulfate, or just, which is of course Epsom salts, or just regular water softener salts. And I imagine that all of the negativity is washed from me every single day, along with, dirt and germs and cooties of all kinds, go down that drain. And having your consciousness boost the physical action is what we're talking about here. Do all those physical things. Be practical. Yes. Do all the practical things. But get your consciousness, behind all of that, because it's like turbocharging it all, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it totally turbocharges it. And that's the key to getting this big road of heaven open again. Most of us have access to heaven, but the road has gotten kind of small, narrow, and choked with weeds. And you can't have heaven on earth. That's really what I'm all about. It's like, because when you've got that feeling of heaven on earth, you don't need to wait to die to get there. Let's bring it now. Let's live it now. And I love what you're saying. If you love baths, take a bath. If you love music, sing or play music or listen to music. If you like to dance, dance. This is the time to really expand your road to heaven. Recognize that you're already there. Yeah. Live life with so much love. There's no competition in heaven, because we love each other just for who we are. It's like being children again. It's like everybody can play and feeling that joy again. This is the time to embrace that. That's good for your immune system.
Yeah.
All this stuff is so good for you. Singing, dancing, baths, walking, nature, animals, pets. We got to see your cat today. Whatever love, flowers. If you have like flowers in your garden, that's good too. Just anything you love. Just looking out the window at the sky. If you're in a hospital, just find something to love right there in that room. Just find something. The sunshine.
And that's why flowers in a hospital room, if they're allowed, are a wonderful thing. A really wonderful thing, a focal point of beauty and high vibration. Speaking of, did you know, there's a man named Jim Self, if you're familiar with him. He's an amazing metaphysical teacher. And he bases so much of his teaching on imagining a red rose and talking about that there is no higher vibrating plant,
Yes.
a red rose. And he says, if you're having difficulties of any kind, you can imagine, how beautiful is this? You can imagine between you and that difficulty, imagine, smell, envision the power, the energy of a red rose between you and this whatever thing, and that you're wearing a shirt with it is just kind of amazing.
Thank you for bringing that up, because we're sharing it for everybody today. We've got Jim Self, we've got this rose, we've got these roses.
Yeah.
So this show is all about the rose. I think you're right. People say that they feel it when they connect with Mother Mary, that rose energy. You can feel, you can smell the fragrance. Very high vibrational.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's beautiful.
Well, what a great place, I think, to wrap it up. Right here, whatever's going on in April or beyond even the year of 2020,
right.
Try to keep your vibration high. It can only help. Bring it down to beautiful aura meditation of Cynthia Sue Larson's or the vision of the red rose. It'll help. It really will.
Yes. Thank you so much for all that you do.
So much fun. Cynthia Sue Larson, please tell everyone where they can get more of you, your books, sign up for your newsletter, your show, all of that stuff.
Right. The podcast, YouTube, Facebook, all that. Right. That's realityshifters.com. And that also has pages on my books, the CD. So if you forgot, what was she talking about? It should be all there. And the newsletters, you can subscribe to it, but they're all listed there for the last more than 20 years, every month, hundreds of them. And so if you need some of those reports of miraculous healings and all kinds of things, it's there. It's very inspiring. I find it very uplifting. realityshifters.com.
Perfect. Beautiful. Check it out. Thank you so much, Cynthia Sue Larson, for being my very special guest on Worldwide Regression Week 2020. And there's more to come. So stay tuned for more wonderful speakers all this week at quantumhealers.com. Thank you so much.